All right, today we're jumping into the Islamic Empire, a civilization that was so vast it stretched across continents, and whose legacy, you'll see, we still feel today. We're going to look at how it all began, how it grew, and how it literally changed the course of world history. So that brings us to the big question we're tackling today. How did two incredibly powerful dynasties, the Umayyads and the Abbasids, really shape this empire? And you'll see their approaches couldn't have been more different. Understanding them is absolutely key to getting the whole picture. Okay, but before we get into all that, we've got to go way back to the beginning, to the Arabian Peninsula, where this whole story kicks off. Now, you have to picture this, a region where polytheistic beliefs were the norm. So around 600 CE, the Prophet Muhammad founds Islam, and this introduces a brand new monotheistic faith right in the heart of Mecca. This was a pivotal moment, for sure. So, what's at the heart of this new faith? Well, it all rests on 5 key practices. These are known as the 5 pillars of Islam, and they really provide the whole framework for a Muslim's life. So what are they? First up, you've got the declaration of faith. Then there's the discipline of praying 5 times a day. After that, the duty of charity, of giving to those in need. Then you have fasting during the holy month of Ramadan. And finally, if you're able, the pilgrimage to Mecca, known as the Hajj. Together, these really form the bedrock of spiritual life. Okay, so what happens when a leader like that is gone? The Prophet Muhammad's death in 632, man, that was a huge turning point. It raised a massive question that would shape everything that came next. Right, the community needed a new leader. This successor was called a caliph. Now, the caliph wasn't another prophet, but more of a political and military guide for the entire Islamic state, which became known as the caliphate. So the first 4 leaders to take up the mantle were all companions of Muhammad. They're known as the rightly guided caliphs. You got Abu Bakr, then Umar, Uthman, and finally Ali. These guys really laid the groundwork for the empire, establishing its government and kicking off its incredible expansion. And what's really fascinating is how they ran things. They governed using Sharia, which is a legal system based on Islamic principles. And here's a key point. While they were expanding the empire, they didn't actually force people to convert. Jews and Christians, who they called people of the book, were allowed to practice their own faith, as long as they paid a tax. But, that early unity, it wasn't built to last. A huge question started to bubble up. Who really had the right to be the next caliph? And this question would eventually lead to this deep, permanent split within the faith. And this is where things really come to a head. After the 4th caliph, Ali, dies, a full-blown civil war breaks out for control of the empire. A clan called the Umayyads eventually wins and takes power, but the way they did it was really controversial, and it sparked a fundamental disagreement that never went away. And this is the core of that disagreement. On one side, you have the Sunnis. They believed the leader should just be a good, pious Muslim who followed the Prophet's example. Didn't have to be family. But on the other side, the Shia were adamant. They said, no, the leader must come directly from the Prophet's bloodline. This was way more than just politics. It was a deep theological divide. And believe me, this isn't just some dusty old history lesson. That split from more than 1,000 years ago, it's still shaping the Muslim world today. I mean, just look at the numbers. The huge majority of Muslims across the globe identify as Sunni. Yeah, think about that. A full 83%. So this historical division isn't just a footnote. It's still a massive factor in geopolitics even now. So after the split, who takes charge? Well, let's talk about the first dynasty to rule, the Umayyads. They basically won that civil war, and their rule was all about one thing: conquest. I mean, it's just incredible. In less than 100 years, the Umayyads expanded the empire from Spain all the way over in the west to the Indus River in the east. It's truly one of the fastest and biggest military expansions in all of history. So if there's one thing to remember about the Umayyads, it's this: expansion. Their whole focus on the military brought in tons of wealth, land, and new followers, and it really put the Islamic Empire on the map as a global superpower. But, empires don't stay the same. The Umayyads' focus on conquest and, well, let's be honest, favoring Arab elites, it created a lot of tension. So the next dynasty to come along, the Abbasids, they had a totally different idea of how to run things. So in 750, the Abbasids saw their chance. They tapped into all that unhappiness, overthrew the Umayyads, and boom, a major turning point. Their dynasty would last for over 500 years, and it was going to be an era of culture, not conquest. Yeah, so instead of sending out armies, the Abbasids focused on trade. They secured their power and got incredibly wealthy by controlling these massive trade networks that connected Europe, Africa, and Asia. And how do you manage an empire that big and that rich? Well, you build a really strong, organized government, a bureaucracy. And that created stability, which meant all that wealth could be used for other things. And that stability, well, that's what led to this, an explosion of creativity and knowledge. A true golden age. In cities like Baghdad, you had scholars making these mind-blowing advances in science, math, and medicine. We're talking about the invention of algebra, huge leaps in understanding optics, writing massive encyclopedias on medicine, and all the while, they were saving ancient knowledge from being lost forever. So, let's bring it all back to that first question we asked. What was the impact of these two dynasties? It's pretty clear, right? The Umayyads, they were the builders. They used military power to create a massive empire. Then, the Abbasids came in, switched the focus to trade and good government, and they used that foundation to create this incredible golden age of culture and science. And here's something to really think about. All those ideas and inventions from the golden age, algebra, medicine, all of it, they didn't just stay there. They spread into Europe and around the globe. So the real question to leave you with is, how much of our world today was quietly built on the foundations laid during that golden age?